Welcome to The Explainer. For those of us who are really fascinated by deep psychological character studies, we're going to dive into a truly terrifying mental breakdown today. We are unpacking the evolution of Matt Hagen into the monstrous Clayface from Batman the Animated Series. And I gotta say, this isn't just your standard comic book origin story. It's actually a profound, incredibly tragic cautionary tale about artistic vanity, exploitation, and the catastrophic loss of true identity. Let's start with a chilling thought that's perfectly captured by our source material. A literal mass of clay, malleable, faceless, and devoid of a true self. Just ask yourself, what actually happens when an obsession with a perfect exterior entirely erases your humanity? In an entertainment industry that prizes surface-level beauty over genuine character, Hagen's story serves as a massive, tragic warning. So, let's look at Act 1, the tragedy of vanity. Hagen's devastating descent really kicks off with his desperate reliance on a chemical called Renew. This experimental, highly addictive substance acts as both a literal and a metaphorical mask for him. You see, as a disfigured actor, Hagen needs it to hide his reality. He uses it to maintain that handsome, star-quality visage that his career demands. It's this manufactured mask he wears to project an illusion of perfection, completely burying his true self beneath the surface. And this addiction absolutely exposes his fatal flaw. On one side, we have this all-consuming desire to remain a star. But on the other, there's the terrifying cost. We see his willingness to perform actual criminal acts for the ruthless industrialist Roland Daggett. It really highlights the profoundly dehumanizing nature of fame. Basically, Hagen sacrifices his core moral integrity, becoming nothing more than a pawn for corporate interests, all just to keep his artistic vanity intact. Which brings us to Act 2, the monstrous transformation. The intersection of his personal vanity and that corporate ruthlessness is exactly what triggers his downfall. First, Hogan fails a criminal task, and in response, Daggett's henchmen deliver this terrifying punishment. They force-feed the actor a massive overdose of Renew. But instead of dying, his cells become completely saturated. He's physically born anew as a shape-shifting monster. It's literally an outward physical manifestation of his chaotic, highly unstable internal state. The symbolism behind this physical transformation is just striking. His new body is malleable, it's faceless, and it completely lacks a true self. It perfectly illustrates our core theme here, that the relentless pursuit of a manufactured image can ultimately erase a person's humanity. He gave up absolutely everything to be a pretty face on a screen. And well, in the end, he lost the ability to hold any face at all. Moving on to Act 3, a melting psyche. In the episode Mudslide, the source material brilliantly uses his deteriorating body to tell the story of his mind. Outwardly, Clayface is literally losing his cohesion. He's melting away. But inwardly, this physical instability perfectly mirrors his mental fragmentation. His entire character arc basically becomes this frantic and ultimately failed search for stability. The narrative totally shifts from artistic vanity to a raw, desperate need just to survive. The tragedy really hits its peak with the introduction of Dr. Stella Bates. She's a former medical advisor who actively aids him and harbors genuine love for the deteriorating Hagen. But here's the heartbreaking part. Even with that profound support, Hagen fundamentally cannot accept living as a monster or even just a shadow of his former self. His vanity is so deeply ingrained that even unconditional love isn't enough to save his fracturing psyche. As the quote goes, once the original identity is sacrificed for a false one, it can never truly be reclaimed. Because he's lost his own face, his fractured psyche attempts to cope by mimicking other characters. He's literally trying to steal their lives to fill the massive void inside himself. But this desperate act of mimicry proves totally futile. He sacrificed who he was for an illusion, which resulted in an irrecoverable loss of the self. And finally, the final curtain, dissolution. At the climax of the story, he falls into the ocean, appearing to dissolve completely in the salt water. This striking visual perfectly finalizes his failed search for stability. His plunge into the ocean suggests that his character was always destined to be washed away by his fluid, unstable existence. He stood for nothing solid, and so into nothing he returns. Looking at the full arc of this tragedy, it's absolutely vital to understand that his true dissolution didn't start in the ocean water. No, it started years earlier during his stardom, the exact moment he decided his worth was tied to his face rather than his character. The overdose merely made it physical. By that final moment, he's no longer a criminal mastermind. He is reduced to a ghost, haunting the very entertainment industry that chewed him up and spit him out. Through this analytical lens, Clayface stands as a deeply complex figure, a true representation of the tragic intersection between artistic vanity and corporate cruelty. So as we wrap up this explainer, ask yourself, in a world that so highly prizes surface-level beauty and curated personas, how fragile is the mask you're wearing?